I joke about just leaving your laundry all over the couch. So if people come over, they have to fold the laundry in order to sit down.
I'm going to lock that one away and remember that one. It's a great one.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's intentional and not as well.
Hello and welcome to the Demystifying Child's Play podcast. I'm Ruth Furco, and today I have someone who is truly in her podcast era, Sophie Moskowitz, who is the mum behind Imperfect Parents, which just the name alone always has me wanting to lean in, because anyone who promotes perfect parenting, well, they will be getting a very quizzical look from me. She brings to Imperfect Parents qualifications in psychology, early childhood education, transition to parenthood education as well, and inclusivity and connection is all at the heart of what she does. Imperfect Parents was started to provide a unique and much needed space for parents to connect in a way that centers around their well-being, because she believes that when parents feel supported, confident, and trust in themselves, their whānau, their family, will thrive, and I could not agree more. She's all about sharing authentic experiences in a way that isn't sugarcoating it or telling parents to enjoy every moment. Now, if you live in Auckland, New Zealand, you may have or will have the chance to join one of these groups. Otherwise, if you're like me and you live further away, you'll appreciate following her on Instagram at imperfectparents.nz for regular smiles and knowing that you're not alone in this crazy journey that we call parenting. She lives with her partner, dog, and 3 children and is super passionate about building community. So welcome, Sophie. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thanks for having me, Ruth.
You are welcome. Now, I would really love for you today to share with us 5 different things you would love for parents to know about being a parent, being an imperfect parent, going along this parenting journey. So why are you so passionate about reframing this parenting experience?
I think a lot of that came from my own journey as a former perfectionist and very type A person, where I felt like, and particularly coming from an early childhood background, I came from this idea of there was kind of one right way of doing things. And when I had my first child, I was quite rigid in that and trying to follow these ideals as much as I possibly could. And to a point with my first, I was able to. She was a really easy baby and pretty chill and pretty easy temperament, slept well. All of the things kind of worked quite well for her. And then I had my second child, and he was very different temperamentally, and he was also born in the COVID pandemic. So my circumstances were really different. And also just the reality of being a parent to more than one child, you suddenly realize that you just cannot meet everyone's needs perfectly all the time. And so I really had to go on a bit of a journey myself to come to terms with that and to go actually, is it okay that I'm doing this? A little bit also the experience that I had in early childhood after I went back to work when my daughter was 1 and I was working in a infants and toddlers room. And it was a very kind of Rye Pickler inspired philosophy there. But I had a really wonderful mentor who I worked with, and she, again, helped me kind of come to terms with this idea of there are 3 adults in this room with 10 children. There's no way that we can meet all of their needs exactly all of the time, but we can prioritize who needs what the most, and we can prioritize relationships, and we can work with things as best we can. But also knowing that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay for our children to see us making mistakes and for them to learn from watching us make those mistakes and how we deal with them. That is a really important part of their learning too, because we don't want to be teaching them that perfection is the goal.
I completely agree there. And what I can really see is with the reframing of your parenting experience, you're really taking in what you've learned and putting it into practice. I think that is the key with being a parent and being an imperfect parent, is knowing that it's this journey that's ever changing, and you only know what you know that day, and the next day you might know something different. And so it's just reframing it and learning and growing and just parenting that little bit differently as you journey along until you become a new parent another day and a new parent another day, and you'll never become that perfect parent, but you'll become a new parent and one that's changed the ideas between child 1, child 3, working, not working. There's so many different avenues that you go along as you parent.
Totally. And I think we have to give ourselves a lot of grace with that. We have never been a parent to these particular children of these particular ages ever before. We're all doing this for the first time. So it's okay that we're muddling our way through it as well.
Definitely. And you mentioned you were parenting during the COVID time, and especially with your early parenting journey, career stage. So You really are passionate about building community that holds parents together and combats isolation. So can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, again, that was really born out of that time of being a parent during the pandemic and particularly being at home on my own with my toddler and my baby through every single lockdown. We live in Auckland, and so we had a lot of them. And this feeling of going, in theory, I know what these children need. I know how to look after them. I've been a teacher. I've been a nanny for years before as well. I wanted to be a parent my whole life and going, like, all I'm doing is just being at home with these children. Why is this so hard? And realizing that it was so hard because we're just not meant to do it alone. We're not meant to parent in isolation like that. And for me, being in isolation was a result of these crazy circumstances that were happening in the world. But for a lot of parents, those are their lives, pandemic or not. They live away from their family. They may be the first ones out of their friends to have a baby. They don't know how to connect with other people. And everything feels so much harder when you're doing it just by yourself because you get kind of caught in your head. And I know for me, it was going like, these children are so hard to deal with. And like, is it something wrong? Like, is there something wrong with what I'm doing? Am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with my children? Like, is my toddler actually like a psychopath? I don't know. And, when you can come together with other parents and go like, oh, my kid's doing this, or my baby's doing this, or I'm finding this really hard, most of the time, someone else is going to relate to that and be able to say like, me too. And just having those moments of shared experiences takes away that layer of feeling like, oh, it's something wrong with me or it's something wrong with my child. Like it's just hard because it is hard.
That is so true. And I think it's so important. One thing I've really heard is like the hand up, hand down model, where you've got your hand up who someone's a little bit ahead of the journey, a hand up someone who's just below, and also with people who are at the same point. So I always remember when I had my first, my friend who had their second just a couple of days before my first was asking me all these questions. And I was like, you're the one who should know what's going on. You've already had one. But I realized pretty quickly that I had my antenatal group and we were catching up and going through all those stages together. We shouldn't have that anymore. And you forget so quickly, especially in those early kind of months, weeks, what's happening, what's going on. And so being able to have those supports to walk through and say, my child's not sleeping through the night. Hands up, hands up, hands up. Oh, I don't need to be perfect like what's on Instagram. Or my child's spitting out all their food, or my child is throwing all their toys, or my child screams every time I try to give them to dad. All of these things, it's nothing to do with your child being broken or abnormal. It's just a part of that journey. And as you're saying, talking to people and being with them really helps people to know that it's everyone. Everyone's got these different journeys, but there's so many paths that cross over, which is so important to know.
Yeah, and just kind of speak to that experience of like first child, second child, and people being more experienced. Almost all of our parents groups that we run are a mix of like first time and second time, third time, even fourth time parents. And I love that we get those different perspectives of people being able to be like, oh yeah, I experienced that with my first as well. And so this time I'm like maybe not stressing about where they're sleeping so much, that kind of thing as an example. It's just so lovely to be like the babies are at a similar stage, but they're at different stages of their actual parenting journey from one another. Yeah.
And that's so important and so fantastic. You've created a space which is safe and welcoming where all people of different walks can come because, as you're saying, there's a lot around antenatal groups, but there's not as many groups. There are those kind of mixed stages of parenting where people have parented for different amounts of time. So being able to get together and actually have that tribe of women, people together who can really get alongside each other and say, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, it is hard, but it does get better. Or just sitting with each other in it and saying, this sucks. And that's okay
Yeah.
just to sit in those emotions too.
Yeah. And I think once you've parented more than one child, you also get that kind of shift in the perspective of time and how long everything lasts. And when it's your first child, everyone can say, oh, it's not going to last forever. But you're like, but how do you know that? You just cannot conceptualize that this things will ever be different. Whereas when it's your second, you have the lived experience of things changing and you can understand that. And so therefore you can be a little bit more relaxed about when things are hard and understanding that it will pass.
Yep. And time continuums change so much. I remember when I had my first, my mum told me that myself and my two brothers didn't sleep through the night until we were about two. And at that time, I was like, do not tell me this, like two. And then he didn't sleep through the night until about two. But it didn't actually seem that long when I looked back on it. In the midst of it, it was forever. But afterwards, I was like, huh, I got through and now I'm sleeping full nights and we're good. And so it's all about that perception. So if you had some top learnings or top tips that you'd want to share with parents, what would they be?
It's so hard to know where to start. But the thing that I really like to ensure that parents prioritize is their own well-being
Mm.
first and foremost. I think that it's really easy to get caught up in the baby, and even just when you're preparing for parenthood, to get caught up in all of the things that the baby needs, the things and the stuff, and to forget about yourself. And ultimately, you can't pour from an empty cup. And you can only be a good parent and a good partner and a good friend to everybody around you if you are looking after yourself. And I think a lot of people, especially, well, not even just first-time parents, but a lot of people feel guilty for prioritizing themselves, prioritizing their own needs. You know, maybe you've got this small baby that doesn't want to be put down, and so you feel like you can never put them down to eat or go to the toilet or do whatever it is that you need to do for yourself. But ultimately, it's more important that you meet your own needs first. That whole kind of like putting on your oxygen mask first, I think, is something that we need to remind ourselves of because we're no use to anyone if we're just completely depleted.
Completely agree there. And I think going along that same theme is accepting help from the village. And not many people have villages as such anymore. But I know myself, especially as I was going into parenthood, I'd been someone who'd been working and I had everything in order and everything was good. And then people would come over and they'd be like, I'll make the cup of tea. I'm like, oh, no, 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 you hold the baby. I'll make you the cup of tea. I could do this. Oh, no, 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 I'll do that because I'm so used to being the host and so used to being the one in control and so used to being the one who just knew what was going on. So actually, through that all with the self-care is allowing people to care for you no matter what it looks like. It's kind of letting down that guard, letting down that boundary and saying, okay, yeah, do make me the cup of tea. Okay, yeah, I will have a shower while you're holding the baby. And if the baby cries for 2 minutes, it's actually okay because it's still getting that love and cuddle from you and I can finish my shower and wash that shampoo out of my hair without having to run out and feeling like I'm being guilty. So it's it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think in Western society in particular, we're raised to be so independent, and independence is this thing that's really valued. And so we forget how to ask for help, and also how I like to talk about this in my antenatal classes. When you ask someone for help in like in a really specific way, you're almost like giving them a gift because people want to. They want to help you. They want to do something to feel useful. So when you say like, oh, actually, if you could drop off some dinner one night, that would be amazing. Like, okay, great. That's like a tangible thing I can do and it's going to make your life better. So thinking of asking for help as like giving someone a little gift that then they can give back to you.
Completely agree with that. So, following along that, if it was someone who's a first-time mum who's no other children, don't know how to support them, what would you suggest someone who is either texting them or calling them saying they're about to come over? What would be something really good for them to say or ask or do?
I guess it depends on the time of day, but always, be like, if you could grab a coffee on the way, if there's like groceries that you need, being like, I haven't managed to pop out for the day, that kind of thing. You'd be like, oh, excuse the house is like laundry everywhere is a bit of a, some people are better at like direct and indirect ways of asking for help. So a little hint about the laundry, maybe. One of my friends would have a list on her fridge of all of the jobs that needed doing so that if someone came over, she would ask them to make a cup of tea. And when they went to get the milk out of the fridge, they could see like the jobs list. And it was really obvious. So it was such things like watering the plants or making sure the cat's been fed, or obviously it depends on everyone's different houses. Or I joke about just leaving your laundry all over the couch. So if people come over, they have to fold the laundry in order to sit down.
I'm gonna lock that one away and remember that one. It's a great one.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's intentional and not as well. I'm looking at my couch right now and it's covered in nappies that need to be put together and put away.
My husband's doing that tonight. Great when you can do scheming on these type of things. Oh, fantastic. So we do a lot of talk about play schemas. I know being early childhood trained, you have a bit of a background of play schemas. For you, would there be any play schemas that you really enjoy, either seeing your children engage in or things you like yourself?
I know that for myself, like the things that I find most satisfying are like categorizing.
Yeah.
Categorizing. I was actually just tidying my kids' rooms today, and I really try to, when I tidy their rooms, I do categorize because I know that for them, that's like an easy thing to follow. So it's like all of the toy animals are in this basket, all of the Lego is here, the books are here. And then it's also quite a satisfying job for me to do one of my children is really, I mean, I've got three children, but we don't count the baby yet because he's not expected to tidy up after himself just yet. But
Really?
he's in the like pull everything out and move along phase.
Disconnection schema. Great
Yeah.
one.
But yeah, one of my children really likes things to be ordered, and he's very good at tidying up and putting things back where they go. And even just today, he was like, Mum, you put your shoes on my shelf. That's so funny. He wants things to be back in the right place. And then my other child is like the complete opposite and needs a lot of encouragement to do this. And so I've noticed that instead of asking her to tidy her room, I ask her to make it beautiful or put the same things together instead of saying tidy, because that kind of speaks to her, love of aesthetics a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that kind of speaking to their schemas as opposed to just saying something like, go tidy up your room, because you're just like, that's too overwhelming. Like if someone said, just tidy up your house, I'd be like, oh.
Where to
Like,
start?
yeah.
Can
Put
you
all
take
the
the kids away for a
carpet.
week?
Oh my God, yeah, actually.
And that's quite funny just listening to you saying about that schema, ordering things, which is in the positioning schema. It's quite a few adults. That's the one that they always really stick to and go back to. And I think, especially as we come into parents, it's that little bit of order you might be able to have in your life where everything else is quite easily chaos and quite easily
Oh my
changed.
gosh, yeah. A sense of control, please give it to me.
And that's the great thing about parenting is it's this journey of letting go, which is really hard, but you find this new person in there. And then for me, I know with visiting friends when they're new parents or second or third parents, that you've got this whole new appreciation of what it actually means to come over as a friend with a new baby and what it means to come and support and what it means to come, which is great because it's a learning journey and we all are on that journey at different stages, but we all can help and be a part of that, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get such a better idea of what people might need, and most of the time it's just food.
Exactly. Food, good, easily one-handed snacks. So before we talk about where to find you, is there any last thing you'd really love to share with parents?
I think that particularly when it comes to play, because this is a play podcast, one of the reasons that I actually started my account was because I was seeing a lot of stuff online. This was like 5 years ago nearly now. I was seeing a lot of things online. Again, this is also during the pandemic, about how parents could like set up activities and, do things to kind of entertain their children at home. And I started my account because I just really wanted to say, you actually don't have to do that much.
Yeah.
There's so much out there of, yeah, like 1,000,001 activities to do with your children. And it's like, actually, that's kind of leading us down this path of really parent-led activities. And my preference, both from a learning and child development, but also from a lazy parent perspective, is to
Yeah.
do as little as possible and as little input as possible into my children's play. I know some people do set up a lot of invitations to play. Like, I honestly really don't have time for that anymore. My invitation to play is like that they are lucky if we tidy up at the end of the day and things are back in their places. Otherwise, sometimes they're not. Again, looking around my house right now, it's not tidy. But just knowing that often the less that we do, the more our children will do. I really like, there's a Magda Gerber quote that says, be careful what you teach. It might interfere with what they're learning. Because when children learn through self-directed play, that's the most important and meaningful learning for them. And when we come in and put our adult lens and our adult ideas on their play, it's really taking it out of wherever their brain was going and whatever was most meaningful for them.
I love that. And I'm completely with you on all the play setups. I can really appreciate when you see these beautiful setups and it's been set up for ages, but then I also have a look and they're always having photos taken with this like perfect hand placed and then not really like, and this is 5 minutes later, or this is 10 minutes later, or this is 2 days later. I love to see if it's actually used further on. And some kids really do engage like that. But for me, same. I don't have time to set up all those things. And that's where for me with play schemas, I really love it because then you can lean into what your child's doing. So you can notice they're doing lots of transporting. So instead of getting really frustrated with the fact that all the toy cars are meant to stay in that corner and now suddenly they're in the kitchen and the bathroom, you can just lean into it for a little while and let your child continue to do that rather than stepping in and tidying up and telling them they're doing the wrong thing because they're not. They're just learning. So the more you understand their play and the
That's
more
right.
you can,
The
yeah,
basket.
the more you can lean into it and not get frustrated and just enjoy that time that they're in, the more joy you have in your parenting, which is so much better than frustration.
Absolutely, yeah. And the idea of being able to recognize what is it that they're doing, what is it that they're trying to do here, and how can we harness that in like an acceptable way. If they're jumping off the stairs consistently, it's like maybe we could go outside and do that on the trampoline or,
Yeah.
on the climbing outside. I don't buy a lot of toys, but over the years, I've been collecting more outdoor gross motor things, especially for my 5-year-old boy who just wants to launch his body around all the time because it's like we need to be able to direct the energy somewhere instead of telling them to stop.
Yeah, I had a friend tell me that they don't get toys for their kids unless it's birthdays when they just kind of have to get them because other people give them. But any time of year, they'll buy sporting and outdoor equipment. And I was like, that's actually a really good thing. I've got some very high energy kids. And so if I'm trying to limit, I'm only going to buy this thing at a birthday, there's such a long time between. But actually, if I know it's going to be really beneficial to them now, actually, it's going to burn energy, it's going to be creative, they're going to learn, they're going to be able to get outside. Actually, let's just bite the bullet, look on Marketplace for something secondhand and grab it now.
I was just about to say, yeah, you'd be surprised what you can get secondhand and also what you can get free from
Yeah.
Facebook community groups. That's my favorite thing to do, especially with big equipment. That's how we got our trampoline and big monkey bars was that I was just like, does anyone have this lying around in their backyard they haven't been bothered to get rid of yet? And we got them for free. So that's my that's my probably best parenting tip.
That's the best type of secondhand is free secondhand.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we're wanting to hear more from you, see more from you, where would we connect?
Oh, yeah, cool. So my Instagram's probably my most active place, which is at imperfectparents.nz. I've also ventured onto TikTok, which is like a whole scary new world. Same account at imperfectparents.nz. Everything cross posts to my Facebook, which is Imperfect Parents NZ. And our website is www.imperfectparents.co.nz. And that's where, on our website, is where you can find all of the information about our in-person offerings. Everything we do is in person at this point. And at this point, it's in Auckland, but we are looking at growing and expanding. So we offer antenatal courses, we offer postnatal support groups, and we offer nature play groups as well. So we're trying to be there for parents throughout the whole journey as much as we can.
Which does have me a little bit jealous not living in Auckland anymore because a little bit too hard to get on a plane every week to come and see you. Sorry, I'm not that good at it, but I do love seeing you on Instagram and seeing everything that's going on. So thank you so much for joining us today. I've absolutely loved chatting with you. I know there's lots of take-home points for our parents. And yeah, we will see you online and all that wonderful imperfectness that you bring to this world.
Yeah.
Before we go, if you have loved this episode and want more examples of how to support your child's play at home and communication, come hang out with us on Instagram, which is at play_schemas, where I share tips and play ideas and some behind the scenes snippets of my own parenting journey. Or head over to playschemas.com to dive deeper and check out the show notes from today's episode. So that's play_schemas for Instagram, SCHEMAS, or playschemas.com online. Thank you so much for joining me today. So until next time, remember, today is a great day to play. See ya.